Okay.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So we're doing the nutrition workshop, and Davine kind of doing it for us. One of the things that we've seen in the all the feedback with regards to people's nutritional diaries and just generally talking to people, myself and Avine felt that there was a real need to educate people a bit more in terms of protein. We felt it was an area that a lot of people were deficient on and were struggling to understand how much protein they actually needed, the importance of the protein, and then, how to measure out protein and give you solutions to that. So I think Avine's going to cover all those today. So we're going to limit this to an hour. If Avine's keeping talking in an hour, I'm just going to
Just
press
cut her
stop
off.
and we're all going to bed. So anyway, we'll let you go, Avine, and if you need any help, just shout away, all right?
Okay, yeah. Cheers. Thanks, Tom. So yeah, tonight let's just get stuck in talk about protein. So oh no, we're not moving on. There we go. First up then, so why do we need protein? So protein is a key macronutrient, essential for muscle growth and repair. And the process of muscle growth is known as muscle protein synthesis. So just in case you hear me referring to it as that's right, I'm just talking about basically the process of building muscle. So proteins are made up of smaller units called amino acids, and these are the building blocks that are needed for the growth of new muscle and the repair of that old damaged muscle tissue that you break down when you're doing your exercise. So, in order for muscle protein synthesis to occur, the body needs to have these amino acids available in the correct quantities. And we can achieve these quantities required by the body by eating sufficient protein. So, therefore, eating enough protein each day will promote muscle building and recovery and help you then maximize the training benefits that you're doing. So, protein also has several other important functions in the body, like hormone function and metabolism and things like that, but we're not focusing on any of that today. But it also acts as a secondary source of energy in times of low carbohydrate availability. However, this is actually not really ideal because if the body has to use up protein for energy, if it has to act as an energy source, then there's not going to be enough protein available for its main role of muscle growth and repair. So if you're restricting your carbohydrate intake, you could ultimately be hindering your ability to build muscle, because ultimately you're reducing the rate at which muscle protein synthesis can occur because that protein is being used up as an energy source instead of it being used up in the role of building muscle and repairing that muscle. Um, and if you're consuming adequate energy from a well-balanced diet, it is very likely that you will be meeting your protein requirements without the need for protein supplements. However, back to that concept, if you're restricting your carbohydrate intake, if you're restricting your energy intake for long periods of time, then you're potentially at risk of not meeting your protein requirements. Overall, your energy intake is just insufficient, so your protein's going to fall within your daily energy intake. So you're at risk of insufficient protein intake if you're restricting your overall energy intake. So when it comes to protein, the main things you really want to think about is the overall priority is first of all ensuring that you're eating enough protein each day. So you want to make sure that you're meeting your daily protein needs. So think about how much protein are you eating and making sure you're meeting your daily protein needs for yourself. And then next you want to think about the type of protein that you're eating. So what sources of protein are you eating? Are you eating animal or plant proteins? Where are you getting that protein from? And you can see I've got complete and incomplete protein there, but I'll explain a wee bit more about that later. And then final thing is then the timing of your protein intake. When are you eating your protein? How are you distributing your protein across the day? And are you getting that time in and around your exercise as well? So we'll touch on all that now. So first of all, I mentioned there, the most important thing really is, first of all, ensuring that you're eating enough protein for your individual needs. And that total amount will vary for each individual, as each individual protein needs are different. Um, and your protein requirements, they're estimated based on your individual body weight, with slight variation depending on the type and the intensity of the of activity. So, for example, inactive men and women, they only require 0.8 to 1 gram per kilogram of body weight per day, whereas strength, power, and resistance athletes like yourselves, we thinking in around that 1.2 to 2 grams per kg per day. But really, your ideal range is you're thinking about here that 1.7 to 2 grams per kg per day. So if you're just again, if you can see it here, if you're a 60 kg athlete, then you can go within that range there. And then this is how you could break that down, aiming to get it spread as evenly as possible over the course of the day to help you get into that target zone then of that 120 grams of protein. So that's just something you can work out for then for yourselves. Take your body weight and multiply it by 1.7 or somewhere in 1.7 to 2 grams. I always tend to go for that 1.8 grams. I think that's a real nice sweet spot. But if you are someone who is, doing a lot of strength training, or again, if your goal is weight loss, you really can think about going up to that upper end of the 2 grams per kg per day. So I mentioned timing then. So timing is really important when it comes to protein. And the optimal approach is to spread your protein intake evenly across the day rather than consuming one large amount at one meal. Because this enables the body to supply a constant protein source needed by the active muscles throughout the day. So as you can see there, if you calculate your total daily requirement for that day and then divide that by the number of eating occasions that you're going to be having. So here we split it up into 5 eating occasions, and you're aiming to try and get as equal distribution as possible in each of these feeding occasions then across the day. And you can see by doing that, you're providing yourself with a wee protein feed nice and regularly across the day. But it is especially important to deliver protein to the muscles after exercise to help rebuild your muscles that you've just broken down, and also support that growth and development of new muscles. So basically, you're trying to allow your body, or supporting your body to adapt to the training that it's doing. So then, just to explain this a wee bit further, so for those who were on the previous workshop, you'll have seen this before. It's again just to reiterate the point. The aim is to try and distribute your protein evenly across the day, and to provide that regular hit of protein to the body across that day. So if you can see here, then if you're having your breakfast, if you provide a nice source of protein at breakfast, then you're topping yourself up and you're keeping yourself in this positive range. You're starting the day off strong with a nice protein hit. Then as the day goes on, you have a nice protein-based snack. You're topping yourself back up. Again, your day goes on, you're going to lunchtime, getting some protein come in, snack, back another source of protein in again at dinner, and then a pre-bed protein hit before bed. So you can see that if you're topping yourself up regularly throughout the day with protein, you're keeping yourself in this positive protein zone, protein balance, which is where we want to be for muscle protein synthesis to occur. But if you have long gaps in your protein intake, then you're running the risk of entering into that negative protein balance, which is where muscle breakdown occurs. So if you can see then, if you skip protein at breakfast, if you don't have a protein source coming at breakfast, and it's your first protein source is coming at lunch, you spent the majority of your morning in that negative protein balance zone, which is really what we're trying to avoid, because whenever we're in that state of negative protein balance, that's where we're running the risk of muscle breakdown rather than muscle building. So again, just to stress and highlight that the more you keep yourself topped up in this positive zone, you're promoting your muscle building. So again, reinforcing that fact of trying to distribute that protein evenly and have that consistent source of protein come in throughout the day. So when you're in a state of negative protein balance, the body is unable to turn over and build new muscles. So the rate of muscle breakdown is greater, again, which is the opposite of what we're really aiming for here. And ultimately, you're going to be hindering your training adaptations. So you'll be coming along and you'll be doing all this training in the gym. You'll be going to high rocks. You're trying out your best to, build a muscle, but you're actually coming in and you're breaking down your muscle. And then if you're not spreading and providing your body with enough regular protein across the day, it's really going to struggle to rebuild that muscle if it's not getting that consistent or that regular protein feeds coming into the muscles. And they're only
Evening.
able to build.
Can,
Yep.
Ewan, can I jump in and
Yep.
just add to that, folks? This is one of the things that I see regularly with people over the past 20 years. People come and say, "I'm doing all this training. I'm doing all this training. Why am I not losing weight, or why am I not putting on muscle?" If you do not feed your body with protein after training, you're going to become fat. Okay, you're because your body is going to need to eat its muscle. If you don't put carbs in there, the body is going to eat its muscle that you've already broken down. So you've already broken it down. You haven't fed the muscle with carbohydrate and protein, and it eats more protein. It eats more muscle, and people get really, really frustrated in training after 6, 8, 12 weeks. Why am I not changing my body composition? Your body composition isn't changing because you're not feeding your body after training to get the changes. And this is what I call the skinny fat person. So you're just becoming a person who is being energized by fat in their body. Okay, so it's vital that you get a habit in place whereby you're having your milk or whatever. And Naveen will talk about this, I'm sure, in due course. But after training, you must make sure that you're eating your protein as well as carbohydrate, which look, tonight we're not focusing on. But a protein milk or a protein shake will cover all those things. Okay. So sorry, Evan, but just wanted
No, that's
to
perfect,
stress that.
Tom. Yeah, thanks for jumping in. There's that again. You've explained it well there. That's where it comes in well to have the PT on board too. So yeah, just then overall, really, we're again to summarize things here, the priority is ensuring that you're taking in enough protein each day. And next, you want to look at how you're eating that protein. So, what is this pattern of protein eating like for you? Are you having these long gaps between each protein delivery? How and when are you getting your protein in after training? Are you starting your day and ending your day with enough protein, or are you only starting your real protein coming in at lunchtime? So, all these wee things here are what we're really trying to focus on. And, that's your checklist there of what you're trying to get in and reflect on each day. So now we'll talk about the type of protein. So there are many different natural sources of protein available. So animal sources of protein there are things like our lean meats, our poultry, our fish, milk and dairy, our cheese and our yogurts and our eggs. And then our plant sources of protein are things like our beans, lentils, nuts and seeds. And proteins are made up of different, I mentioned at the start, they're made up of different amino acids, and these are the building blocks of protein. And I said I would explain a wee bit about the complete and incomplete proteins. Now, this is again getting a wee bit sciencey, and it's really nothing for people to really worry about. It's just something to consider if you are someone who tends to opt a lot more for those plant-based sources of protein. So protein sources which contain all those essential amino acids or those building blocks in the correct amounts that the body needs for muscle building, and they're known as complete proteins. So all animal sources are complete proteins. However, plant protein sources, they have one or more of these amino acids. They're missing or they're not available in the total amount that the body needs. So hence they're known as incomplete proteins. However, if you combine two incomplete proteins, so if you combine two plant proteins together, the limiting amino acid in one protein will be made up for by combining it with the amino acid content of that other protein. So it's not something to be concerned about because it's very, very achievable to be meeting your protein requirements on a vegetarian diet. It's just something to be aware of if you are someone who is a vegetarian, and just to be conscious that, to try and combine your plant proteins together. By combining two incomplete proteins, you'll create a complete protein. So just something to be aware of if you are that vegetarian person then as well. So here is then just to show you what where we can get protein from, and there's some protein content that is in food. So I mentioned here we've got all our, obviously our, we know that our animal proteins like our meat, so our one chicken fillet, we're going to be getting in around 30 grams, steak, salmon, tin of tuna, eggs. Then we're down here, we're thinking about our milk and our dairy products here. So the milk and the plant-based milk, cheese, yogurt, Greek yogurt. I know the ladies in the small group training will know that I am a huge fan of this. Again, it's such a great snack. So a great versatile food to be used and everything, and a really, really nice rich source of protein. And then up here, we're thinking about, again, back to our plant-based sources. So our beans, our chickpeas, our lentils, and then nuts and seeds over here, as well as all our food groups of our protein sources then. But we're mentioning, that that 20 to 30 grams of protein, that's really what you are trying to aim for. To try and get to get that even distribution across the day. So then this is what we can look for to try and get into that 20 to 30 grams target zone. So having one chicken breast, we're well in that zone. We could have 4 turkey rashers, that's going to provide us with 20 grams of protein, 4 turkey sausages, 20 grams of protein. And down here at our eggs, 3 eggs, 24 grams of protein, tins of tuna. And then we're over here again, we need 600 mils of regular milk to get us into that 20-gram protein. Or we could have protein milk. 500 ml carton is going to provide us with almost 30 grams of protein there. And then into our cheeses, different types of cheese. Again, we could have these are nice Babybel snacks. Then down here, we're looking at our yogurts. So again, you'll see I've included a range here. We've got the regular Greek yogurt, and 200 grams of that's going to get us 20 grams of protein. Or again, a much handier option, I suppose, as well, are these protein yogurts that are available, that we're all well aware of. And then obviously you've got the protein branded foods, which are the protein puddings and the protein yogurts as well. We know we're going to be getting into that 20 gram, 25, 30 gram zone that we want them for. And then if we just go into then some of the plant-based sources of protein, and it's just, again, just to show where we can get different proteins from. But I've also included this slide, you see I've highlighted something here just to really note that you do need to eat a larger volume of plant proteins to help you get into that 20 to 30 gram target zone, which actually in reality mightn't be that practical or mightn't necessarily be that advisable if you take some of the certain food groups here. So for example, if we're looking at nuts and seeds, so these of all, you can see here, this is all per 100 grams. So in order for you to get 30 grams of protein, you need to be eating these in 100-gram quantity, which isn't going to be probably the most sensible thing given how the nuts and seeds are quite high in fat. So for example, if we take, just for context, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter is approximately 18 grams, which is going to provide you with 4 grams of protein. So if you're wanting to try and get into that 20 to 30 grams of protein zone, you need to be eating approximately 5 tablespoons of peanut butter, which would be almost 50 grams of fat and 550 calories pretty much. So again, just maybe not something to you be considering doing. And then again, if we just take these things like the likes of beans, these are all per 1 full 400-gram tin, whereas most likely a serving or you'd be having, half a tin of these. So you're not getting just into that 20 to 30 gram zone. But like I mentioned, you're going to likely combine these foods with something that you're going to have beans on toast, and you're going to have like peanut butter with something. So things that are limiting in one of these plant proteins can be made up for in your other food. So again, your classic example of that would be your beans on toast or a bean chili. You're serving it with things like whole grain rice, or you're serving it with things like lentils, or even quinoa. Here again, I've included this to show that quinoa is a plant-based grain. It's a high protein grain. But again, if you're having this 1 full pack of quinoa, you're only getting 15 grams of protein. So again, you need to be thinking you'd almost be wanting to have 2 packets of that to get you into your 30 grams, which you're not going to do in 1 serving or 1 sitting. So just things to be aware of, but definitely it's still the show you can definitely still have a really high versatile diet and still have all these vegetarian sources as well. But just to be conscious that that you're needing a bit more of them and to be make sure you are combining them. And then just while we're touching on the plant-based sources, obviously we say you've got the dairy milks, um, versus our non-dairy milks with the rise in popularity of all these plant-based milks. It's just good to know that um, if you aren't if you aren't vegan or if you don't need to avoid dairy for dietary reasons or if you're lactose intolerant, then dairy is an extremely valuable food group, especially for getting our protein needs met. So if you are someone who has no issues with dairy, then there's no reason to be excluding it. And then this is just to show you here how valuable simple milk can be as a protein source. Now these are all just approximately per 250 mils, which is equivalent to 1 cup. You can see that obviously the protein milk is your leading the leader here. It's providing us with 12.5 grams of protein. But if you have 1 cup of regular milk, you're still getting 9 grams of protein. And then if you're avoiding the regular dairy milk and you're going down these plant-based route options, you can see that soya has 6 grams of protein. And soya is concluded as to be the most nutritionally comparable non-dairy or dairy alternative to cow's milk. So if you are someone who excludes dairy, definitely try and focus and get yourself onto soya milk because it's the most nutritionally comparable to dairy. And you can see here then the likes of the oat milk or on the almond milk and the coconut milk, there is virtually zero protein coming in here. So if you're someone who's thinking, oh, I'm doing a good job trying to swap out my dairy milk for my non-dairy milk, just be mindful of the difference in protein that's coming in. If you're someone where you're trying to improve your protein intake and you can handle dairy without any intolerance or any issues, then stick to your dairy. And again, the ladies in the small group training will have seen this before. Again, I stress this all the time. One simple thing, if you're someone who's having Greek style yogurt, please try and swap to the regular authentic, look out for regular authentic Greek yogurt. And it doesn't have to be this brand, like you'll see it as well in like Lidl and Tesco's, they all do their own equivalent of this, which is real authentic Greek yogurt. And that's just to show you that there is a significant difference in protein in this, almost triple that. So, you don't have to change anything. You can still have the exact same, eat the yogurt the exact same way that you're eating it. Just swap it for the real one and get more protein in at the same time. And it's also just to show you here that this protein yogurt is very comparable to the regular Greek style yogurt. So Greek style yogurt is naturally high in protein, whereas these protein yogurts, are also that wee bit more expensive. So you could save yourself a few quid here and just, stick to your regular Greek yogurt. Not to take away from these protein yogurts at all, because they are extremely, extremely useful. It's just to be mindful because I know they're £1 to £2 a pop, whereas this isn't as dear and you can maybe get a bit more out of it. So just something to bear in mind as well. And then there are just some pre-bed protein snacks that you can think about coming in. And again, my favorite personally is to go for that Greek yogurt before bed and even throw in some cereal or crush up a rice cake and a bit of dark chocolate and some fruits and berries over that. It's a nice hit before bed, but there are just some other wee ideas there. So I've just give a kind of a overview of where we can get our protein sources from. So does anybody want to come in and just suggest a few ideas of what protein snacks? That is one thing I've been asked about. We always get asked is how can I get some high protein snacks? Does anybody want to shout in any ideas that they have based on what we've seen or what some of their go-to snacks?
They're like a quick protein bar.
Protein bar, yeah. Yeah, very handy. Anyone else? Well, for the interest of time, I'll move on, but thanks, Lisa.
All
Here we go
shade,
here.
Evie. All shade.
I know. Some protein snacks ideas then here. And what, as you can see here, I don't think, included any of those typical protein snacks that you would see and that are labeled high protein. And this is just to show you that you don't need to be buying those protein snacks. There are lots of foods that are naturally high in protein that we can make we can base our snacks around and get that protein in our snack time. We don't have to be paying that extra expense and going for all those labeled protein foods. So again, you could have a piece chicken breast. You could snack on four slices of turkey bacon that would get you in your 30-gram zone. You could have half a packet of prawns. You could have some tuna. You could try these other tuna variations. Again, eggs are an absolutely excellent source. So you could do yourself a favor, boil up some eggs at the start of the week, and you could get snacks done for 2 or 3 days. Or alternatively, get a bit adventurous and experiment and try and make some egg muffins, basically like we omelette things. And again, batch cook that at the start of the week and have those ready to go for snacks, just grab and go. Baby bells are class, so handy. And it's just to show you here, like the difference in obviously this is the regular ones and these are the lower fat ones. So you could have same amount of protein, you could have an extra baby bell by going for the light calorie or the lower fat option. Cottage cheese is an excellent source of protein, and obviously going for that lighter cottage cheese, same concept, you're saving yourself some calories there. So you could try and have cottage cheese on some cracker breads or rice cakes. And if you're to have 2 tablespoonfuls of your cottage cheese with 2 of these crackers, you're getting a snack of 11 grams of protein. Or other things that are, as a nice snack is some pineapple and cottage cheese together. But 1 tablespoon of your cottage cheese is going to get you that basically 4 to 5 grams of protein. And then over here, we're looking at our yogurts. So again, we can go down the Greek style or the Greek yogurt. And then also another type of yogurt is that sky yogurt that you'll see. And it's again very similar concept to the authentic Greek yogurt. It's again a naturally high in protein yogurt, so you don't have to be going for these branded protein ones. But again, obviously they are very useful and very handy. And then again, something as simple as a glass of milk. You have 300 mils of milk, you're getting yourself 10 grams of protein there. And then obviously back down to our nuts. You have some nuts with your Greek yogurt. There you're going to get yourself into that 19 grams, 20 grams of protein there coming in from adding in a handful of almonds to a Greek yogurt there. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy, and doesn't have to be these expensive protein snacks. Definitely very doable just to have them from a natural source of protein as well. And just thought probably be of importance to highlight that, yep, those chocolate protein bars, they are out there and they are very useful in terms of protein. But just because it's high protein doesn't necessarily mean that it's a healthy option. If you compare your protein bar to a regular chocolate bar, so here you'll see that it's actually not much better in terms of fat or calories. This bar, the protein bar here, actually has more calories than the Kit Kat. It is more fat than the Kit Kat. But of course, it definitely has a lot more protein. But it's just to really, highlight that don't forget that foods contain other nutrients and protein as well. So just because it's high in protein doesn't mean that everything else that's in it doesn't matter, doesn't count. You're still eating calories, you're still eating fat. So my advice with the protein bars would treat the protein bars the same way as you would treat a regular chocolate bar. Have them in moderation, but don't be relying on them for your protein intake. Instead try and get your protein needs met from the foods which are naturally high in protein. So then when, we're thinking about, okay, how are we building our meals? How are we gonna get that protein in? And I've mentioned in the feedback to you, the food diary feedback, that your balanced meal, it includes all 3 elements. But you can start by building your meal by choosing your protein source, and then base your carbohydrate and your vegetables around that. So protein, if you're focusing on your protein, decide on what you're gonna have. Chicken. Then, okay, well, what carbohydrate is going to go with that chicken? I'm going to go for rice. Okay, then what veg can I have? So I can make a chicken stir fry then. If I got chicken stir fry, I would stir fry veg with some rice. So protein is a focus, but don't forget about your carbs and your color as well. So plan your meals, and like I said, just start with the protein and keep it very simple. So choose your protein source and then build your meal around that. And variety really is key. So aim to try and change your protein source across your meals. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have eggs at breakfast, well then maybe could I try and go for tuna sweet corn at lunch? You try tuna sweet corn and a baked potato or in a sandwich at lunch. Then what about having, chicken casserole at dinner? And then having your Greek yogurt as your pre-bed snack. And then maybe the next day you could have the Greek yogurt and some fruit and oats as your breakfast. You could go for chicken at lunch, maybe try chicken keema salad at lunch, maybe try some fish, so salmon stir fry for dinner and things like that. So try and alternate your protein sources as you move throughout. So that's an easy way to try and plan your meals at the start of the week. Start with your protein source, like what protein am I going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then build your meals around that, but making sure you're covering all bases, that we're getting the carbohydrates in and the correct needs that we need for our energy, our activity levels of that day. And then of course ensuring that we're getting our plenty of our fruit and veg coming in as well. So this is just kind of also to highlight, like I mentioned before, there's lots of different types of variety of protein out there. So we can obviously know we have all the different types here, but try and vary it up. So like if you're gonna have a sauce, if you're constantly, or someone who likes their sausages, maybe try and swap them out for a turkey sausage. Or someday you could have regular mince, and then maybe next time you could try and use turkey mince, or have them in different forms. So you could have, your mince in a burger form. We could go for turkey bacon, or we've got a vegetarian burger up here. Go for your turkey steaks as opposed to your regular pork or your pork steak. So just to show you that there is different types available as well. You don't have to constantly be going to the same one. And this is also just to highlight then in terms of the benefit of swapping maybe from swapping to basically a leaner cut. Now it is important to note that it's not always going to be a like for like comparison, because some cuts are going to be larger in size. So for example, an average turkey breast steak is around 80 grams compared with a pork steak, which is maybe about 130 grams. Or pork sausages are about 60 grams. So it's almost double that of one chicken sausage, which is about 35 grams. But it's just in particular, if I draw your attention to turkey bacon, we could almost be eating approximately 100 calories less for a very similar protein content. So if you see here, for 2 slices of turkey bacon, you're going to be getting 10 grams of protein, 1.5 grams of fat, and 60 calories, opposed to your regular normal bacon, where you're getting, a wee bit more protein, but it's very comparable, but significantly more fat and calories in your regular pork bacon. So that could be one very simple swap, but you could swap out your regular bacon to your turkey bacon. You're still getting in your protein hit there, but you're getting it in a much leaner form for less calories and less fat as well. So then just to kind of summarize the main points then that we've talked about there. So number one priority is ensuring that you're eating enough protein each day to meet your individual protein needs. The next, you want to think about how you're spreading that protein across the day. Again, really trying to get it as evenly as possible as you can, with that regular eating pattern with a protein source at every eating occasion. And then you want to ensure that you're getting a nice hit of protein at breakfast, and definitely a pre-bed protein to really support that muscle recovery and repair that happens during that sleep window. So really thinking about starting and ending your day strong. By eating a well-balanced diet, it's very likely that you will be meeting your protein needs without the need for supplements. And you can achieve, if you're, achieving that well-balanced diet, you do that by varying the protein sources that you're eating, varying the carbs that you're eating, varying the veg that you're eating. It's very likely you are going to be having that balanced diet and meeting those needs. Protein sources then include things like meat and poultry, fish, milk, and dairy. And then, of course, we mentioned all about the veggie options there that are available too. Try and alternate your protein source and build your meal around that. balanced meals include all three elements, protein, carbs, and veg. Don't be forgetting about any of them. And again, think lean where you can. Try if it's possible to get a similar protein, but for less calories and fat. So that's just the concept. So now I'm just going to kind of move into and finish up with just some tips and how and some meal ideas and suggestions of really where and how you can get your protein in. We're frozen. Here we go. This is then just to show basically an example of how you could what a typical eating day could really look like. So I've just taken a 65 kg athlete. This is roughly, you know, the daily requirements that they're going for here. We're really focusing on the 120 grams of protein here. And if this athlete was to eat like this, this is what they would get in, and you can actually see they're exceeding their protein intake. And I just included this just to show you really how easy it is to naturally meet your protein requirements here. And they've actually managed to do so by eating this. They're actually getting in more. So it is very, very easy and or very, very doable to eat to meet your protein needs if you are spreading it regularly and keeping yourself regularly topped up with a protein source at every occasion. So if you're someone who's training at 6 a.m., then get yourself, support your training session and get a source of carbohydrates into the body before training. Now you can see there's no mention of protein here because protein isn't the priority in your pre-training snack. Your pre-training snack, it's all about getting enough carbohydrates into the body to make sure that there's fuel there to support the session that you're doing. And then as soon as the session's over, that's where we're trying to get our protein back on board. And studies have shown that recovery and carbohydrate stores will replenish and recover more efficiently when a carbohydrate source is provided with a protein source. So really your post-training snack should try and have protein with carbohydrates. And something as simple as a glass of milk and a banana is a perfect recovery snack to get you started here. Now, of course, you could go for this protein milk down here, and that would get you 28 grams of protein. That would tick the box. But again, it's just to show you that you don't have to be going for these protein milks. If you were to get yourself something as simple as a glass of milk as soon as you get in the door and a banana, you're providing yourself with 10 grams of protein here. So if you have that straight away after your session, you've kickstarted your recovery process by getting that on board. And then you follow up later on, 9 a.m. with your breakfast. If you have some Greek yogurt with oats, chia seeds, and berries, and a bit of honey, a cup of tea, you could get in 22 grams of protein here, plus your 10 grams of protein that you've had previously. So you've kickstarted your protein recovery process, and you're following it up with a larger protein hit in this morning window. Then in this post-exercise window, you've got yourself into that target zone. So you've ticked that box. You've recovered. You've really supported that training session. You've come in, you've done your training, and you're supporting your body's adaptations to the training by giving it the protein that it needs, the stimulus that it needs. So then if you move through the day, then at 12:30, we're having our lunch here. Something as simple as getting that chicken breast and putting it into a wrap, a pita, salad, and getting the colour into your lunch there as well. So lots of veg. So go for something as simple as a chicken sweet corn and rocket wrap with cottage cheese, actually, yeah, as well. If you put a layer of cottage cheese into this instead of your mayonnaise, I've mentioned that in the feedback to the food diaries. Cottage cheese is great. You know, you're getting in that high protein, you're saving yourself your calories. It's giving you that creaminess and that moisture that mayonnaise gives you, but you're getting it in a much leaner way. So get some cottage cheese into your wraps, into your pitas, into your sandwiches, and that'll give you another wee protein boost. And then again, we're wanting to, of course, think about our snacks, trying to get in a piece of fruit here as well. And you can see here, there's still a cup of tea and a biscuit that has come in there because we're still within the calorie target. And it is to show you that, you know, these things can be included in your diet. We're not here to say you have to cut out all the foods that you like, but just being mindful of how often and when and how frequently you're having these things. And if there is still within your calorie needs of the day and you're still getting in your protein, then there's definitely no harm in them coming in. Then we move through and think about, again, a bit more of a nutritional snack now coming on board again, big and a bit more substantial. So we've got 2 rice cakes here, again, with cottage cheese, so a tablespoonful or so of the cottage cheese, and topping that with some cucumber. Or again, you could vary it up. You could go with tomatoes or pineapples. So again, you're covering your protein element with your cottage cheese, your carbohydrate element with your rice cakes, and then your fruit and veg element by topping it with the fruit or the veg. And then again, you can still have a bit of a Major Valley bar here as well. So that'll be a good snack to tie you over from 3 right through then to dinner. Then comes dinner. Again, this is what we're talking about, those meal plannings. Pick your veg source, pick your protein source, sorry, pick your veg, pick your carb. Something as simple as a salmon stir fry. Salmon, mixed veg, and your quinoa, your rice here. You're getting into 30 grams of protein now. And then we're going to finish up the day before bed, getting in that pre-bed protein snack. So if you have some Greek yogurt with some granola, and you can sprinkle over some dark chocolate out of that and a few berries, there you're getting yourself a 13 grams of protein. So, and then that's you topping yourself up, giving yourself a good hit to allow yourself to go to bed during this recovery window and then start again over here. And then this is just to show you again, if you're someone who trains in the evening, exact same foods are coming in. It's just we've changed up the timing and when we're having those foods. So we're starting our day with that protein coming in at breakfast. Then lunchtime again, we're having the same thing. We're having that 32 grams of protein coming. Snack. Then this, you can see this is now different. We're now thinking about, okay, our priority now is our training session. So with no protein here, but again, the priority is fueling that training session. So carbs before the training, carbs and protein after your training. And you can see then again, you're having your dinner, you're getting yourself into that 30 grams of protein. So you're ticking that recovery box by getting your protein and your carb elements sorted here. And then again, finishing up, trying to get that pre-bed protein snack in as well. And you can see by in this pre-bed window, you have managed to get in that 30 plus that 13. So we are actually getting into that a really good, strong, solid recovery protein coming to support that overnight recovery. So again, just some ideas then of what you could have for protein sources at breakfast. Over here, obviously, you know, your classic eggs and bacon. Trying to think about maybe swapping up some of those days to go for those turkey bacon or the chicken sausages, you know, leaner options. Smoked salmon and cream cheese. Again, maybe swap out the cream cheese for try cottage cheese. Or going for the lower fat, leaner options. And then, of course, Greek yogurt with toppings of choice. So here you could try and have your 150 grams of Greek yogurt. That's getting you your 15 protein. So that could be your base. Then what are you going to top it with? Maybe some days you could try and you could top it with some Weetabix, regular or Weetabix protein if you can get it. Chia seeds, really, really great. Or you could try and go for your rolled oats with some chia seeds. And then, of course, what fruit are you having with this as well? There still needs to be that source of fruit and veg at every meal. And then you could try, and if you're someone who wants to go for the protein yogurt, it's absolutely fine to do so. And then you could try and vary your toppings up again. If you're someone who is aiming to get in who needs a bit more calories come in, who needs a bit more carbs, you could go for the options, the higher calorie options. Or if you can see here, these fruit and seeds toppers, they're great. They're a bit of a lower calorie option. They'd be nice to top up your Greek yogurt if you want something with it. Or even if you are just wanting to have that protein yogurt on its own, you're still getting yourself in that 20 grams of protein there. So that is sufficient to get you started. And of course, then add in some mixed berries or add in some fruit to tick that fruit element as well. Protein pancakes, again, another option to have. And then classic, of course, you've got your eggs on toast. Now, eggs are a brilliant source of protein, and they're so versatile. You'll see coming up here are lots of different ways in which you can have your eggs. So very, really handy food group for protein. Just doing a classic plug of the little Instagram profile here, purely because I couldn't be bothered typing out the recipe for this. So if you want to see that, you can just check out my Instagram page there. But this is just to show you how to do, like you could do those wee omelette egg muffins that I mentioned back at the start. So you make a batch of these at the start of the week. There's some 6 snacks ready, or 4 6 snacks, ready for the week. Grab and go form of egg. If you get sick of having the boiled eggs, they're just very handy. Again, you could try baking your eggs, or making up your omelettes. So I'm trying to say if you made that baked eggs with 2 eggs, some tomatoes, again, you're getting nice veg in here as well. And then flavor it nicely and top it with some natural yogurt. You could easily get in 22 grams of protein. That's a real nice meal there. Again, you go one step further, you could add in some mixed beans or things like that into the mix as well and bump up that protein content even more. Or something as simple as, a nice classic egg omelette as well. If you were to combine all this together, top it with some cheese, add in some turkey to it as well. Don't forget your veg. There you go. You're getting yourself 34 grams of protein in. Breakfast wraps are lovely to have, but again, having them at any time of the day, just a wrap with some eggs, spinach, avocado, again, topping it, with some a layer of cream cheese. You can even flavor these whatever way you want, some Ballymaloe relish, any form of chutney or anything, things like that are lovely to have in these as well. Again, it doesn't have to be a wrap. It could be a pita, it could be a bagel, it could be simple as just sandwich. Similar concept then, halloumi cheese and your tomato wrap. So your halloumi here then is acting as your protein source. So I should have mentioned each of the highlights and previously it's just to highlight where the main protein driver is coming from. So halloumi cheese then, a source of your protein here. Again, you can go classic, simple chicken stir fry. Get your chicken breast in. If you know you've got at least one chicken breast and you're eating, your portion is one chicken breast, you've ticked your box here. Portion of noodles, portion of rice, portion of quinoa, all those things to serve with. Vary it up. So again, you could have a chicken stir fry, do a batch cook of a chicken stir fry at the start of the week, and then change up what you're having it with, whether you have it with a pita one night, whether you have it with quinoa one night, that way you can incorporate some variety into your meals. And get adventurous, vary up the vegetables that you're using in your stir fry. So you could essentially just rotate this meal by keeping up your chicken, varying up your source of chicken. Maybe go for turkey one night, maybe go for salmon the next night. Vary up your green that you're having with it. Are you going to have noodles one night, rice one night? Then choose your vegetables and try and vary them up each week. A good challenge to set yourself is to try and add a new vegetable, try out a new different vegetable each week, try and get that diversity in, and then change up the flavor profile that you can try different herbs and seasoning, different spices, to try and create that diversity. Because often you hear people say, "Oh, I'm so sick, I'm always eating the same meals." If you follow this kind of structure, but just vary up the sources that you're using, that way you're keeping it nice, and you're getting that variety in. Again, tuna, superb protein source. Really, really handy again, and can get really versatile with it. So you could do baked potato, whether you're going sweet potato or a regular baked potato, with some tuna, sweet corn, or again, go that wee bit extra, bump up your protein and add in some beans with it. Sprinkle of cheese over the top, and of course some spinach then as well. Serve in the mix or serve on the side up with a salad to get your colour in. And then again, fish, again, great option. So salmon, any cod or any fish like cod, haddock, hake, mackerel, all sorts of protein too. So again, don't always think you have to go to the same type of fish. And then varying up your vegetables, roasted veg, again, really, really handy to have. You can chop everything up, throw it all into the oven, put your fish on top, add in your flavor and sprinkle over some herbs, some fresh herbs, mixed dried herbs, whatever. Get a bit of flavor going, bit of garlic in there and leave it in the oven. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. Just maybe just being that wee bit organized and knowing what you're doing, planning ahead. And this is one of my favorite go-tos. Again, it's probably the easiest meal you could ever make. It's be ready within 15-20 minutes. Is egg fried rice. Again, so versatile, change everything up. Scramble up your eggs, fry up your onions, your peppers, or whatever you're putting into it. Mixed veg or frozen veg is so handy. Throw it in at the end. Add in your soy sauce, your sesame oil, a bit of chili, and mix it all up, and then mix your rice through at the end. And again, another recipe on my page there if you want to try it out. I always add pineapple into mine because it's just delicious. So that's just, again, finishing up then with just some ideas of really, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, it doesn't have to be take a lot of time. It's just about finding out what protein source am I gonna have. So I'm going for chicken in this meal. Gonna pair it with a quinoa salad. So what veg you gonna have? I'm gonna try maybe have turkey burger then the next night. Then Wednesday night I'm gonna have tuna. Thursday night I'm gonna go for vegetarian source or vegetarian meals. I'm gonna use some chickpeas and lentils in a curry. And then Friday I'm gonna have my salmon tray bake. So things like that. Literally just draw out a plan and Google recipes. There's so many ideas out there, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy at all. Okay, so that is us finished.
Evening,
Yes, who's that?
it's Jacinta.
No, Jacinta.
How are you? Semi-skimmed milk, is it as good for protein as the full fat milk, or would it need to be the full fat milk?
No, so when it comes to milk, all like the regular milks, semi-skimmed, whole milk, skimmed milk, they all have the same protein content. The only thing that's different is the fat content and the calorie content of that. So that's just what's different there. So again, yeah, absolutely. Go for your skimmed milk, go for your semi-skimmed milk if you're trying to watch your calories there.
Right, that's great. Thank you.
No bother.
Anybody else, folks, want to ask any questions there? Okay. Evelyn, thank you. Super
No
stuff
bother.
as always. Suppose key take homes, folks, for anybody that's training. First thing if you're training in the morning is come fueled up, as simple as a banana or an apple or an orange there. Get some carb down you. Think about your protein and carb mix afterwards. Again, simple milk and banana gives you a wee window to get into work and maybe grab something in the van or the lorry or in the office whenever you get into work, and then just keep topping up. Look, getting slim, being toned. Avion's put down there, you're eating 5 to 6 meals a day. You don't have to starve yourself to get in good shape. And unfortunately, most people starve themselves, which is sad to see. So look, hopefully that's given you a wee bit of insight today. And look, have a good night's sleep and think about it. And we'll see you at training in the next few days. Is that all right, folks?
Super,
So
thank you.
no bother. All right.
Thanks,
Night night.
David.
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, bye, bye.
Thanks, Evan.
No bother, Tom. Thank you.
Super stuff. See you later on. All right.
Thanks. Yeah, cheers. Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Zay.
Bye,
Very
bye,
good.
bye.
Talk is in the morning.
Bye. Bye.